Okay, good morning. Welcome to
FamilyMath1099.
FamilyMath1099. So we're going to do another project looking at some coronavirus charts today, just to see what's if we can understand what's going on in the world a little bit better. So this is one we've looked at before. This is the mobility trends reports from Apple. And what they do is they look at people who have iPhones, and they measure a bunch of different things. But mostly what they're checking is how people ask for directions if they're driving, walking, or taking public transportation. And what we see on the screen right now is, let's see, we have three. Green is the United Kingdom, purple is Germany, gray is the United States, gray one's a little hard to see, and blue is Italy. So what do you notice just about the graphs they have on the front page?
All of them seem to follow the same trend, which is that they sort of are around the baseline until March, when they really go down below the baseline, and then they slowly sort of creep back up. And in some graphs, looks like they're actually going above the baseline.
I think all of them. It says all of them are higher than normal right now.
Yeah.
Or higher than whatever they were on January 13th.
Yeah, it's interesting. So now, one thing that's important to keep in mind is that maybe just sort of normally, people moving around in June is higher than it was in January.
I think it would be, yeah.
So so the shape is more important than the actual high values right now. I would say you can see that things went way down and then they slowly kind of came back up. But let's look at some specific places. So what's a place you'd be interested to take a look at?
Well, maybe this sort of beginning area.
Oh no, a place in the world. You can do countries, or you can do individual states in the U.S.
Let's got Brazil.
Brazil, okay. All right, so here we see, maybe I can zoom in on this even a little bit. Okay, so here we see red is driving, orange is walking, and purple is public transportation, and here's Brazil. So what do you notice about this graph?
Sort of similar to the other graph, but it's without that spike at the end. The growth at the end. It's driving is the only one above the baseline, and the rest, walking and transit, are still below. Transit's actually way below still. It's sort of at the same, almost the same level.
What do you think could be causing that? Why would public transportation be much lower right now?
I mean, there's a lot of people in a crowded space, so maybe it's shut down in some areas.
Okay. What's an area you'd like to take a look at?
Let's look at Massachusetts. So here, like, the pandemic is kind of almost back, like, life is almost back to normal levels, so we'd think it would be about here, and kind of is. Goes down.
That's interesting. So this is just driving.
It goes down, and then it climbs. It's climbing back up. It still is climbing, but it kind of looks like it's flattening out. It's kind of hard to tell.
I looked at a graph before that had more on this. Maybe it was Boston. Yeah. Okay, so here's a proxy, because it has more information. It's driving, walking, and public transportation.
So driving is kind of the same as we saw in the general Massachusetts graph. Walking, it's kind of surprising that there's so much walking, I mean, in general here, but it's still not really as high as it is even here. And then transit's just way down.
Yeah, Boston has a big public transportation system, and we haven't been on it in I don't
Since
even know.
like January.
Yeah. But it looks like it's way down. All right, let's pick one last place, and then actually, you know what? I'll just show you. Let's look at Texas, where the virus. Sorry, typing through the camera here. Texas is really spreading. I guess let's look at a city. Okay, so what do you notice here?
So it looks like here we start off at our normal levels, we go down, not for very long, we come back up, and then we're back to normal levels, but it looks like it's going down again.
Yeah, what do you see?
Yeah. So something that's consistent in most of the graphs is this area at the beginning, which was around baseline, and the drop around March. But here the transit graph sort of diverges from the other two graphs. These start to go up sooner than this graph, and the transit graph also looks like it might be starting to go back down.
Okay. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of different things going on in the world with this mobility data. All right, so now I want to show you a really interesting website that collects a lot of data for different states in the U.S.
Right.